All right, another day. I think I might be able to wrap this thing up today. I've already done the 54 through 75, so I've just got to get through about 14 of these. Okay, we ended with question 40. We're going to question 41. Following a legal kick, when either team is awarded a new series, the play clock will be set to 25 seconds. A, true, or B, false. And this is a rule change, so I don't have the rule book, but if you look right over here at the rule changes, following a legal kick, when either team is awarded a new series, the play clock will be set to 25 seconds. So I'm guessing that's true. Okay, question 42. Quarterback A12 is calling signals. Directly across from the A5, B76 mimics A12 signals. This is a dead ball, unsportsmanlike conduct foul. Again, this is a new rule this year. So if we go over here to new rules, disconcerting act penalty reclassified. Disconcerting acts or words by the defense has been reclassified from a 15-yard unsportsmanlike foul to a 5-yard foul. So that's a big change, right? So don't forget that one, guys. All right, so the answer to this is false, and that's because of the new rule. All right, let's move on. All right, question 43. A, 3rd and 20 from the B40. Quarterback A3 is back to pass. Immediately after he has thrown the ball, his face mask is grabbed and twisted by the defensive player. The pass is completed to eligible receiver A45, who is downed at the B35. So we've got a 5-yard pass completion on a 3rd down, right? So this is the result of this play would be 4th and 15 without the penalty for the face mask foul. So let's talk about what a passer is, because this is oftentimes misunderstood. So a passer is defined right here in 211 or 232.11. A passer is a player who throws a legal forward pass. He continues to be a passer until the legal forward pass ends or until he moves to participate in the play. So to have roughing the passer, the passer or the player has to have actually thrown the ball. So typically it's the quarterback. So if he is scrambling and gets that face mask foul, he's still a runner, and we cannot apply the roughing the passer rules. Now there's special rules for roughing the passer. So here's the rule regarding roughing the passer. I'm not going to read it, but basically it says no defensive player shall commit any illegal personal contact foul listed in 943. And 943 is all of the personal foul, 15-yard personal fouls. Everything from a blindside block to grabbing and twisting the face mask. Okay, so let's go down to the penalty table and take a look at the penalty. Lots of penalties in this one. Okay, here we go. Roughing the passer. So it's a 15-yard foul, which in this case would put the ball on the A45, but it would still be 3rd and 5. But it's an automatic first down and 15 yards and a first down from the dead ball spot when the dead ball spot is beyond the neutral zone. So this is going to be enforced. Typically, we'd enforce a loose ball foul from the previous spot. But on the roughing the passer, there's one more ding, and that is that he's going to get all the yardage for the completed pass and then the 15 yards and the automatic first down. So it's a big penalty, okay? So he's down at the B35. We're going to add 15 yards onto that. So the correct answer is B, roughing the passer, A, 1st and 10 from the B20. Okay, question 44. K, 4th and 14 at the K30. K18 attempts to punt from the K22, but the punt is blocked at the K24. Okay. Ball's behind the line of scrimmage, right? So K can do a lot of things here, but The ball falls to the ground, and K53 kicks the ball while it is rolling on the ground at the K20. The ball travels to the 50-yard line where R33 downs it. If R accepts the penalty, it is. So I'm not going to start at 224-8. Instead, I'm going to go to the actual violation, which is illegal kicking, and that is 971. No player shall intentionally kick the ball other than as a free or scrimmage kick. Now, the first time he kicked it and it was blocked, that was legal. That's a scrimmage kick. But a ball rolling on the ground cannot be kicked. That is an illegal kick. Okay? So if we take a look at the definition of a kick, which is right here between 224-8, a punt is a legal kick by a player who drops the ball and kicks it before it has touched the ground. A punt may be used for a free kick following a safety or for a scrimmage kick. So again, this is not a punt. Okay, this is an illegal kick. All right. So how do we enforce this? What kind of play do we got here? All right, we've got a this is a loose ball play, right? It's a kick. Loose ball play. Go away. What are you doing there? So we're going to enforce it. What's the basic spot for a loose ball play? It's the previous spot, but this foul occurs behind the previous spot. The previous spot was the K30. He kicked it from the K20. All right. Now, the 10-4-2 exception, because this was implemented a couple years ago, the 10-4-2 exception says the basic spot may, at the option of the offended team, be the succeeding spot for fouls by K during a free or scrimmage kick other than catching interference prior to the end of the kick, when K will not be the next to put the ball in play. So this is the new rule that says when we have a foul by K on a kick, R can choose to either have the penalty enforced from wherever and the repeat fourth down, or just simply tack on that yardage to where the ball ended up. So in this case, the ball ended up on the 50. If they accept the penalty and invoke the 10-4-2 exception, it would be R's 1st and 10 at the K40. If they wanted a re-kick, it would be K's ball, 4th and 34 from the K10. So the answer here is E, A or D. Question 45. K, kickoff from the K40. K33 attempts an onside kick which rolls to the K48 where it is downed by R77. During the kick, K55 blocks R63 from the front and above the waist at the K46 before any R player blocks in the neutral zone. If R accepts the penalty, R's choices are. So let's look at the rule. It says no member of the kicking team shall initiate contact to block an opponent on a free kick until the legal kick has traveled 10 yards. The kicking team is eligible to recover a free kicked ball, or the receiving team initiates a block within the neutral zone. So B and C are kind of a little confusing. The kicking team would be eligible to recover a free kick ball if R touched it, okay, inside that 10-yard neutral zone. Once the receiving team initiates a block, then K is allowed to block. But none of that happened here, okay? As you can see, it's very specific. During the kick, K55 blocks R63 from the front and above the waist at the K46 before any R player blocks in the neutral zone. If R accepts the penalty, R's choices are. So we've had this is an illegal block with a 10-yard penalty. And last year we changed the rules for the basic spot. This is a loose ball play, so typically enforcement would be from the previous spot, right, where they kicked off. There's an exception now. The basic spot may, at the option of the offended team, be the succeeding spot for fouls by K, which is what we have, during a free or scrimmage kick down prior to the end of the kick, and K will not be the next to put the ball in play. So they have options. They can make them re-kick from the 30, or they can accept the penalty from the succeeding spot. And so the answer is A, kickoff from the K30, or C, R, 1st and 10 from the K38. So the answer is D. All right. Okay, question 46. B46 intercepts a pass at the B5. His momentum carries him into his end zone. As B32 is about to be tackled in his end zone, he shovel passes the ball to B26 at the B8, and B26 is tackled at the B32. The enforcement spot or result of the play is. Now, he is trying to jam a lot into this question. So the first thing is he is referring to this exception to a runner carrying the ball from the field of play across his own goal line, and it becomes dead in his team's possession. So typically, if a defender were to intercept a pass or field a kick and end up being downed in his own end zone, it's a safety. But there's an exception, and it says when a defensive player, it's right here, when a defensive player, intercepts an opponent's forward pass, intercepts or recovers an opponent's fumble or backward pass, or an R player catches or recovered a scrimmage kick between the 5-yard line and the goal line, and his original momentum carries him into the end zone, where the ball remains in the end zone and is declared dead in the end zone in his team's possession, or it goes out of bounds, the ball belongs to the team in possession at the spot where the pass or fumble was intercepted, recovered, or the kick or was caught or recovered. So let me break that down for you. If a defensive player or an R player, so the defensive player is more than likely going to be an interception, the R is going to be fielding a kick. If it's inside their own 5-yard line and their momentum carries them into the end zone and they are down there, it's not a safety. We're going to put the ball where possession occurred. In this case, it would be the 5. But that's not what happened here. But he's trying to, reinforce this momentum exception. We will talk more about this as the season goes on. We'll have several examples. So what do we have here? We have, as B32 is about to be tackled in the end zone. Now, if he got tackled in the end zone, he'd be fine. But he shovel passes the ball to B26 at the B8. Doesn't matter if it's a shovel pass, overhand pass, it's a forward pass, right? And that's illegal. B26 is tackled at the B12. So, what do we have? Okay, we're back to it is a safety win. And if we scroll down to C, we'll see a player on offense. Now, I know this was a defensive player, but now that he has possession of the ball, the offensive restrictions apply to him. Commits any foul for which the penalty is accepted and the enforcement from a spot in his end zone. I'm not going to read the rest of it, but that's the part that matters here. We have a penalty where the enforcement spot is in the end zone, so it is a safety. So the answer is E, safety. Okay, K 4th and 10 from the K5. K5 has 5 players in the backfield at the snap. So that's an illegal formation, right? So we have a K foul immediately. K's punt is caught at the K50 by R83 and run back to the K20. During the run back, R77 illegally holds K62 at the K30. Okay, so we have a foul by the kicking team and a foul by the receiving team. And normally that would be known as a double foul, and we just would simply replay the down if for each side fouls, and they're both during the live ball period. There's exceptions to that, but just stick with me here. There is an exception, and it says if each team fouls during a down in which there's a change of team possession, which is we have here, right? The kick is a change of possession, and the play does not have post-scrimmage kick foul. Post-scrimmage kick fouls have to occur between the time the ball is kicked and the ball is received. This foul occurred after the ball was received during the run. The team last gaining possession may retain the ball provided. I'm not going to read. If I read this to you, your head will explode. But it says the team last gaining possession declines the penalty for its opponent's foul. Okay, just leave it at that. The rest of it is so confusing. Again, your head will explode. So what they're saying is, if R declines the 5-yard penalty for the illegal formation, they can retain possession of the ball. If they accept the foul, it's a double foul, and it will replay it. So both A and C are correct. So the correct answer is E. Okay, question 48. K 4th and 5 from the K5. K commits an illegal shift. K's punt is caught at the K40 by R14 and run back. During the run back, R59 commits an illegal blindside block at the K35. R14 fumbles at the K33, and K45 recovers the fumble at the K30. So is this a double foul replay? K can retain possession if he declines the enforcement for R59's foul. The enforcement spot is a K5, or K can retain possession if K declines R59's foul. Enforcement spot is the K40. All right, let's go back to our rule that we just looked at, 221B. It says if each team fouls during a down in which there is a change of team possession, so far so good, and the play does not have post-scrimmage kick foul, we don't have one of those, the team last gaining possession, so that would be K, may retain the ball provided a foul by the team last gaining possession is not prior to the final change of possession. Oops. Okay, so they can't keep the ball because their foul occurred prior to the change of possession, the fumble recovery. So in this case, we have a double foul. No choices. Got to replay the down. Answer is A. Okay, question 49. K 4th and 5 at the K10. K16's punt is caught at the K40 by R99 and run back to the K30. K had 5 players in the backfield at the snap. So again, an illegal formation by K. During the kick, this means if there's a foul here, it's post-scrimmage kick enforcement. During the kick, R36 blocks K33 in the back at the K35. Okay, so again, if R accepts K's foul, then it's a double foul. 10.2.3 says if each team fouls during a down in which there is a change of possession and all R fouls are post-scrimmage kick fouls, then R may retain the ball provided R declines the penalty for K. All right, I'm not going to read the rest. Head exploding time. Okay, so the enforcement spot for post-scrimmage kick fouls is always the end of the kick. Everything else that happens after that, at the end of the kick. So this is when either ball becomes dead or it's where K catches the ball. All right. So here, both if R A says if R accepts enforcement of K's foul, it's a double foul. We play the down. That's true. R can retain possession if R declines enforcement of K's foul. Enforcement spot is the K40. Remember, it was caught at the K40, right? So that's our enforcement spot. So the answer is C, A or B. All right, question 50. A 4th and 2 from the B40. A3 runs to the B30. As he's being tackled, he hands the ball forward and underhand to A43, who runs to the B5 and is tackled there. After enforcement of the penalty, it will be. So, this action, this handing the ball forward, underhand, beyond the line of scrimmage, the only time you can hand the ball forward is behind the line of scrimmage. So handling the ball forward beyond the line of scrimmage is known as illegal handing. So it's defined in Rule 2, Section 19, Article 2. Forward handling occurs when the runner releases the ball when the entire ball is beyond the yard line where the runner is positioned. In other words, he can hand the ball backwards, right? That's legal. So what they're saying in the definition is that the player has to be entirely in front of the player that's handing the ball. And the rule against doing this is in 732. No player may hand the ball forward except during a scrimmage down before a change of possession, provided both players are entered behind the neutral zone. I'm not going to read the rest of this because it's not germane. Okay, so just as I said, you can't hand the ball forward during a scrimmage down before a change of possession unless both players are behind the neutral zone. So what's the penalty for that? It is illegal handing is 5 yards and a loss of down. Now let's go back here. This is 4th down. So do we give the ball to B because of the loss of down? Well, the answer is no, we don't. If we go to an area of the rule book that very few people actually read and is quite important, at the end of the rule book is a thing called football fundamentals, and it covers possession, downs. You can see. Spend some time reading this, guys. These are kind of like absolutes inside the game, okay? And so one of the last ones is the loss of down aspect of a penalty has no significance following a change of possession or if the line to gain is reached after enforcement. So if we go back to the question, right, we've got A runs to the B30. The line to gain was the B38. Okay, we had A 4th and 2 on the B40. So as he's being tackled on the B30, that's where he commits the foul. So it's a 5-yard foul from the B30. So it'll end up on the B35, and it'll still. So the loss of down feature does not apply here. So it's going to be A's ball, 1st and 10 on the B35. The answer is C. Question number 51. During the pregame conference with the referee and line judge, the home head coach verified all his players are legally equipped. During a down, a home team player wears an illegal jersey which ends just below the numbers, exposing his midriff above his pants. Now, before we get into the answers to this question, I want to, all you Orange County guys, this should never happen. Okay, we have a pregame inspection of all the players. If we saw a player with a jersey in this state, we would tell him in no uncertain terms that he couldn't play unless he gets a new jersey. Now, occasionally you will have some of the bigger linemen where they have a gut and the shirt rides up, and generally those linemen will wear a T-shirt underneath that's the same color as their jersey, and unless it's ridiculous, we're gonna let them play. It's not their fault that they're that big. But this is an alteration to the jersey. So the three answer choices are: an unsportsmanlike conduct foul on the home head coach for failing to have his player wear or use required equipment, foul on the player for failing to properly wear required equipment during a down, an official's timeout is taken and the player must be replaced for at least one down unless halftime or overtime intermission occurs. And then we have B and C, or A and C. So let's take a look at the rules. There's a lot of them here. The first one, 151B1, just basically says the jersey unaltered from the manufacturer's original design. That's all we need to really know as far as a violation. This jersey is altered, right? So he has violated that rule. 154 says, prior to the start of the game, the head coach shall be responsible for verifying to the referee and another game official that all of his players are legally equipped and in compliance with rules with no illegal equipment. Okay, any questions regarding legality of a player's equipment or the presence of required equipment shall be resolved by the umpire. So sometimes a coach will say, hey, I've got a kid with a cast. It's covered with foam. Can you check it? And we're happy to do that. Another thing that comes up is visors. Sometimes kids will try to get away with wearing a visor that's only slightly tinted. The only legal visors are clear visors. Okay, but we oftentimes we get rid of those problems before the game starts. Okay. Bring over the other rules references. Ta-da! Okay. So we've got 981H says, following pregame verification, as in 154, the one we just read, allowing his or her players to use illegal equipment. It says this is under no coach, substitute, athletic trainer, or any team attendant shall act in an unsportsmanlike manner once the officials assume authority for the contest. Examples are, but are not limited to, and then we've got this whole laundry list, including using profanity, disrespecting and addressing official, so on and so forth. Well, down here on H, it is allowing his or her player to use illegal equipment. And if we go down to the penalty table, 981H, failure of the head coach following verification to have his players wear or use legal equipment, that is a unsportsmanlike conduct foul and it's 15 yards. And we saw from the previous slide, when any required player equipment is missing or worn improperly, an official's timeout shall be declared if the missing or improperly worn equipment is detected before the down or subsequent dead ball action related to the down without being directly attributed to a foul by an opponent, or if a player is wearing otherwise illegal equipment in an illegal manner, the player shall be placed for at least one down. So we're going to have an unsportsmanlike conduct foul on the head coach and an official's timeout, and the player is going to be sent off. So the answer is E, A, and C. Again, guys, this should never happen. I want to emphasize that. Never happen. We need to inspect, and we need to properly inspect. The only thing I could think of off the top of my head that we might get by us would be spikes that are too long. And honestly, that problem went away years ago, and I haven't seen it in a long time. So, but other than that, we should get all these illegal equipment issues. All right, moving on. Okay, question number 52. between downs, an official sees an A player not wearing hip pads. Answer A, the official calls an official's timeout and the offending player is required to leave the game for at least one down and cannot return until he is legally equipped. B, a 15-yard unsportsmanlike foul is charged to the A head coach if during the pregame conference the head coach has verified that all his players are legally equipped. The player must leave the field until he is legally equipped. Or a 5-yard non-contact foul charged to the player. Okay, so the last answer, that used to be the foul. If we had required equipment not worn, it was a 5-yard foul. That was changed in 2018. The rule 151D is this is all required equipment. It goes from 151 covers everything from the helmet to the padding and spikes everything. So 151D says pads and protective equipment, hip pads and tailbone protector, which are unaltered from the manufacturer's original design and production. So that is required. All right. 154 says prior to the start of the game, the head coach shall be responsible for verifying to the referee and another game official that all of his players are legally equipped and in compliance with these rules and will use no illegal equipment. Any questions regarding legality of players' equipment or the presence of required equipment shall be resolved by the umpire. So what they're saying here is we always have a pregame conference with the coach. One of the first things we ask him is are all your players properly and legally equipped, and he has to affirm that they are. And then if there's any question, say we've got a cast or something like that, then the umpire or it has to verify that the equipment is indeed legal. So Article 5 says, when any required player equipment is missing or worn improperly, an official's timeout should be declared. If the missing or improperly worn equipment is detected during the down or subsequent dead ball action related to the down without being directly attributed to a foul. So sometimes equipment can get altered based on a foul or by an opponent. Foul by an opponent. The player shall be placed for at least one down, unless it's halftime or overtime intermission. If proper and legal equipment has become improperly worn through use, but prompt repair is possible and does not delay the ready for play signal for more than 25 seconds, such repair shall be made without replacing the player for at least one down. So this would be an example of that is a player whose knees are covered properly at the beginning of the down. He goes to the ground. His pants get pulled up. His knees are now exposed. He pulls his pants back down over his knees. We are not going to send him off for one play. So the answer to this is A. The official calls an official's timeout and the offending player is required to leave the game for at least one down and cannot return until he is legally equipped. A, first and goal at the B5. Eligible receiver A83 is running a pass route in the end zone. After A83 has gone past B90, B90 pushes A83 to the ground. As A83 goes to the ground, A12 throws a legal forward pass from the B14 into the area A83 was running to. Then at the line of scrimmage, B55 tips the pass and it falls incomplete in the end zone. So do we have defensive pass interference by B90, no DPI as the ball was tipped by B55, ending pass interference restrictions on B players, or illegal use of hands by B90. Well, the way this play is described, we couldn't have pass interference for two reasons. One is the pass wasn't thrown when the contact occurred, okay? The other reason is if it had been thrown after the contact had occurred, then B would apply because, as you can see in 759, pass interference restrictions on a legal forward pass end for all all B players when the pass has been touched by any player. So, if we go down to 923D, it says a defensive player shall not contact an eligible receiver who is no longer a potential blocker. And the test maker made it very clear that the receiver was past the defender. So if we go down to the penalty table, 923D is illegal use of hands, 10 yards. Okay, so the correct answer is C.